Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Mojito Movement, because today we're not drinking mojitos. Today we are drinking Guinness in honor of today's guests, who I'll get to introduce themselves shortly, and it will all become very clear why we have broken from tradition. But I'm joined today. I'm really excited today. I'm joined today by one of my favourite bands, the Lancashire Hotpots, and I would say providers of one of my favourite situations that ever occurred, which was witnessing my good friend Liam get utterly shit-faced at one of your gigs in London. Shout the phrase "My mum's from Wigan" in your faces after the gig, followed by "This was the funnest night ever." Something he's never lived down. So I'm very excited to have you guys on. So normally I would cheers the mojito, but today we will cheers like men with our pints. So cheers to that, and I'm actually looking forward to this. It's been quite a day.
Cheers, one and all. Cheers, one and all.
Cheers.
Sorry, I haven't got a pint of rough stout. I thought I was going to toe the mojito party line. However, being a good northern man, I thought I would have to create my own mojito. So it was going to be a mix of Scrumpy Jack.
Excellent.
and mint sauce.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Mixed with Iron Brew.
Ooh.
To give it that fruity flavour, and of course some Listerine for that cool minty hit.
There you go. There you go.
Absolutely bang on. I mean, that is a Northern Mojito. I think that's what they call that.
Yeah, I've not got the rights on it yet, but it's coming.
Happy days. Well, I think what a great time to get you guys to introduce yourselves, let everybody know who you are and where they can find you on the socials.
Shall I do the business, Bernard?
Dickie, you are a very professional man, and I'd like you to say things now.
Thank you very much. We are the Lancashire Hotpots. We are purveyors of musical comedy and all things silliness associated with being from the north. I won't direct you to any one specific platform, but if you have a preferred social media platform of choice, type in the Lancashire Hotpots and we will no doubt pop up in a drop-down list.
We're not just bi-soc, we are tri-soc. we aim for the quad-soc, but we could just get, it's too much soc for one man.
Yeah, there's quite a lot. And you guys are obviously very busy doing your northern things, which doesn't lend itself perfectly to having time to bother with too many social networks. So it's completely understandable. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm very excited for this one. I will do my very best to be a good host and not just gush about how much I enjoy your music and find it hilarious. And we'll try and get something mildly useful for those listening. But a good place that I always like to start is take us back to the start. How did this all come about? Because and for anyone who's listening, who are the Hotpots, if you haven't heard of them, as Dickie quite rightly said, you're a musical comedy band that write, I think, genius songs referencing what it's like to be from the north of England, and you capture the essence of being British, particularly northern, to tunes that everybody will have heard at some point. And I don't know how you do it, but you do it exceptionally well. So that's a quick snapshot for anyone that's like, who are these people? But how did it all come about? Whose idea was it, and did you ever imagine it would become what it is?
Well, I think before Dickie gets into the real hard stuff of how he released such an idea, just if we go one step back to say that me and Dickie and Bob from the Hotpots were purveyors of live electronic music, and it was quite hard. And we would go out and play raves and all this sort of stuff. But there was something happening in the air, and people weren't listening to the music as they used to. And we were working so hard on creating really complex stuff that we didn't think that people were necessarily listening to as hard as they used to. It was time for something new, a little bit of respite, a little bit of light relief. And thus came the moment of Dickie sitting on his lavatory.
Well, I'll take us one step back as well. So
Wow.
as you said, Bernard, there was myself, there was you, and there was Bob, and we would do live electronic music, similar, if you're familiar with the likes of Underworld, sort of Left Field, Orbital, that sort of thing. And this was very much in a day before sort of social media. So, you know, we had a website, but the ability for an independent band to forge a name for themselves was a quite sort of difficult thing. During that period, and I think this is something that we actually forget a lot of the time, we did a little comedy side project called Moped. Now, people back in the early noughties who listened to Chris Moyles on Radio 1 might have heard of Moped, the scooter tribute band. I'm using the tribute in inverted air commas, but it was basically celebrating and also slight mickey taking of the German techno act Scooter. So the comedy was always within us. We did that as a side project for a couple of years. And that sort of naturally sort of faded away. And then in May 2006, I was sat on the toilet in my house, and I had the idea that in the same way with Scooter and Moped, in that we sort of celebrated and also sort of gently mocked the world of German techno, if we was to celebrate but also gently mock traditional Lancashire folk bands, for the simple reason that the majority of traditional folk bands, they will sing long established songs which have been sung for either decades, sometimes hundreds of years, but they were always singing about the topics that were sort of in the past. And we thought we'd have the idea is, what if a traditional Lancashire folk band would instead sing about the things of the day, which in 2006 was internet dating, which was in its very infancy, emos, handheld portable gaming devices, TomTom sat navs, and that was the basic sort of premise within which we sort of birthed ourselves. We did a couple of songs in December 2006, just up on the MySpace, and we had a sort of a small network of local radio DJs that we'd known from our various bits and bobs. Gave those the demos of these couple of songs. They liked it. It was January 2007. We decided to do a few more, feeded those out to the radio stations, stuck them up on the MySpace. It all gained traction, as they say. In March 2007, we decided to do our first gig just to see if it could be done live. And that gig sold out on the door in 10 minutes. And we were gobsmacked, as it were, that actually, no, this is something people would actually pay to see. And ever since then, it's almost been an organic, natural development of defining what the Hotpots are, what their role is, how maybe musically they change as we play ever bigger venues and sort of bigger festivals. And ultimately, what hasn't changed is we are all just mates who go out of a weekend, and in the same way as our audience, they go out to forget about their troubles, the midweek 9 to 5s, all the horrible stuff that's going on in their lives. They can go out of a Saturday night, go out and have a good laugh and sing some songs, maybe have a drink or two. But that is exactly the same for ourselves. We've all got sort of day jobs that we like to park of a weekend. We can see all our mates on a Saturday night, and we all just happen to play music together in the same band and celebrate what it's like to be somebody who's silly and from the north of England.
If we could just take a moment before we move on to have a little pause, little rest in the memory of MySpace.
May she rest in peace, amen.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful sentiment for a wonderful platform. Although I I met my ex-wife on MySpace, so I'm glad it's dead.
She's dead now, not the wife.
No, yeah,
Yes,
just
yes,
the
yes.
MySpace. She's,
The
I believe, still
platform
going.
only. Yes, yes.
But MySpace was brilliant back in the day. I was in a ska band in my teens, and we put some music on MySpace, and for a long time it was still there, and I'd get the occasional message from people going, "I've just heard your song. Do you still have a band?" And I'd have to break the news to people that I hadn't had a band for about 10 years. And it was it was a nice little platform that a lot of bands went on to become massive just from what was the original social network platform, and probably the best one, to be fair, when you think about what it was and how it worked and what you could do with it. It was something that was completely different and unique, and I'm glad that it was around, because obviously it sounds like it was pretty fundamental in your early growth and rise to fame, really, which is awesome. When you first theorized this whilst on the shitter, did you envisage it becoming anything more than a mildly funny idea, or was it something that you thought there's legs in this? It's got the potential to go somewhere. What was the initial thoughts, not just in terms of you personally when you thought of it, but when you floated the idea to Bernard and the rest of the guys?
Well, let's just have a think about that, Dickie, because for me it was. It is an idea. Can you be funny? Well, I'll give it a go. So a bit of a silly voice, and the recording some great outtakes from them early things at the Dickie, recording that stuff and just making ourselves laugh. And for me, the getting it on the MySpace, just getting it recorded, listening to it and laughing, and then getting it on the MySpace, that was just like, okay, well we've done a thing, and we sort of got it out of the system, really. The idea that 17, 18 years down the line, people would still be singing Chippy Tea, and then we would write Egg Sausage Chips and Beans, and then we would do all these festivals and main stage and stuff like that. That wasn't in my mind at all at the time.
No, we tend not to think too far ahead. I do feel as though sometimes you can be too invested in dreams, and if that particularly happens, then what happens then if you don't meet those dreams and you're encountering failure? I think that really our primary focus, and it sounds a little bit of a cliche to say this, is to make ourselves laugh. We often find that we're the best sort of barometer, and anything other over and above making ourselves laugh is sort of the natural sort of progression. Things I think that's the one thing that you can sort of put at the front door of the Hotpots, is that if anybody knows us, it's very natural. The people that you see on stage are very much the people that you meet in real life, and just by being this very humble, organic, natural thing, anything that follows afterwards just feels really nice and is very rewarding. But that's only because there's no sort of great master plan. It's all about just the next bit, the next thing, seeing what we can do with it, and how we can have fun ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important way to look at things. Obviously, my background in terms of what I do, I'm an online coach. I work with people, and my job is to help people reach their goals. And one of the biggest reasons why people typically fail to reach their goals is because they get too focused on the end result, and they don't notice all of the wins they've had along the way. They don't notice all of the little moments of success, because all they care about is, I've got to get to that end bit, whatever that looks like. And there's a phrase I always use with people, and that's that the man who enjoys walking will travel further than the man who only cares of the destination. And I think, listening to what you said there, that you guys are the perfect example of that, in terms of all you've ever tried to do is make yourselves laugh and have a bit of fun. And if it becomes more than that, it's a bonus. It's never been a case of having a long list of things of, you know, we want to achieve. Like you said, you've headlined festivals, and you're being asked to play bigger venues, bigger shows, bigger festivals, and it's kind of that natural snowball effect is happening. But at no point have you ever kind of set the barometer of success to be, we need to get to this point to consider it a win. Like for you guys, it's if it makes us laugh when we hear the song back, it's like that's good enough. And I think it's such a powerful way of looking at things, because you get to enjoy every milestone, every bit of success, because you weren't expecting it, you weren't shooting for that, and you weren't hanging your hat on recognizing that you have been successful when you reach X point. It's just been, if somebody listens to it and thinks it's funny, that's that job done. And I think that's fucking like absolutely awesome and really incredible.
Well,
so
you know, there have been times where people have said, do you want to do a residency at this place for 3 months? Well, whilst that would be an exciting opportunity, no, I don't want to do that. Do you want to sign this contract that means that you might reach a much wider audience? Not really, you know, because going out on a Friday or a Saturday night, or a Friday and a Saturday night, depending on how busy we are, singing the bit in Chippy Tea where it says, you know, ready, steady, cook, am I eating it? And we'll let the audience do the work. I still laugh every night we play it.
Yeah.
Because that little bit of letting the audience write the jokes or finish the jokes is still funny. And if we did that every night, a matinee and an evening, and it would just be, oh God. And like some of the band's sandwich choices that we were eating in the day, that just be a drag. You know, if you're doing it once or twice a week, all of those little things that 6 old blokes would grind each other down, it doesn't do that anymore. It doesn't do that when you're doing it and having fun at the same time. It's just, do you know what? We work hard in week, and when we get to be treated like stars,
yeah,
you know, at the weekend, that's a nice thing to, a nice way to spend your spare time.
Yeah, and I think it just keeps it enjoyable, doesn't it? It just stops it from becoming a chore, because everyone always says that, you know, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. But if at the same time, it's a fine line to tread, because if you do something that you love and you end up doing it too much and you depend on it too much, it stops being something that you love and becomes a chore. It becomes hard work. Everyone experiences it when you get a new job, and oh, how's your new job? And you go, oh, it's brilliant, I really like it. For the first time ever, I look forward to going to work. Fast forward 6 months and it's like, oh, how's the new job? And invariably people go, it's shit, I hate it. Sandra in the office is a twat, she's always banging on about stuff. The coffee in the office is shit. It's terrible. It's the worst thing in the world. And that novelty has worn off. Whereas it sounds like, from your perspective, the allure of being able to monetize something you enjoy further it doesn't outweigh wanting to still enjoy what you're doing. And I think that's why it shows through. I as much as Liam was shit-faced when he sort of screamed in your face that it was the funnest gig ever, the reality of it is I've never had more fun at a gig when sober. Both times I've seen you guys in London, I've been the designated driver, so I've not been drinking, and I've not had more fun sober at a gig than going to a Hotpots gig. There's just something about your energy that it doesn't matter what headspace you're in when you walk through the door. When you leave, you're literally in the best mood ever. That from start to finish, it's just brilliant. It's hilarious. It's fun, and I think a big part of that comes from the fact that you guys, that it is fun. You enjoy what you're doing. It's not a job. It's not a chore. It's not,
So
shit, we've got another gig to pay.
Let me ask you this, Dickie. Let me turn interviewee into interviewer. Dickie, at what point of the start of the journey did you think that the evenings weren't just going to be like a band playing songs, but it was going to be more of that party vibe? Because gigs now are, you know, it's a big night out, it's a big party vibe. But how, in the process of you thinking about the idea of the band, how soon did you come up with the idea that, hang on, it needed to be more than a gig?
Well, it's strange because you can possibly argue that we've had 3 sort of versions of the band. The first version was, we don't really have that many songs. How do we actually work this into a live set? I think about the 3rd gig that we played, was a gig at a like a working men's club in Bolton, and they wanted 2 sets out of the Hotpots, and we only had 1 album at the time, and even playing all of the songs together could only sort of fill 1 set, and that was when we had to do Lanky Bingo, if you remember that, Bernard, to extend the Hotpot set. So at the very first instance, it was a case of, okay, we can play these songs. What do we actually do to make it a gig? I think then in the second instance, it's how do we move from it being a gig to an actual show? And that's when you've got enough songs. How do you actually structure the set and actually work out the dynamics of a live set in terms of which songs go there? You start off fast, and then you maybe sort of move to the quieter, sort of slower songs, and then you build up again, and a set undulates with troughs and peaks. And then sort of once you get sort of past that, it's how do you move on to give people sort of an experience, as it were. And I think once we'd fully cemented what we refer to as the bonkers section, which is about half the way through our sets, at a point when most bands would be maybe looking to preserve their energy and go quiet, we tend to do the exact opposite, blow it up with 3 massive festival sort of party songs. So I think for about the past 10 years, we've had the right number of songs in order to create the perfect set. I think I feel quite sad for any bands that doesn't have this massive back catalogue that we have, that we've got so many songs of each individual category, whether it's a sentimental slow song, whether it's a daft curveball where either people are doing silly things or we're doing silly things on stage, whether we've got up-tempo drinking songs, sort of maybe mid-tempo, more thought-provoking and chucklesome lyrics. Younger bands who maybe only have 1, 2, or even 3 albums haven't got the breadth of material that we have. And I think it's that breadth of material and excellent songs in each category that we need, that we've been able to bring together and come together this fantastic live experience. And I remember listening to a podcast with Billy Joel, Bob's favourite, many years back, and he was saying that in like the mid-70s, he was playing rooms to 500 or so people, and he was doing those sort of nice slow piano songs like Piano Man and She's Always a Woman to Me. And then as he got bigger and bigger and he moved to these 2,000 capacity rooms, he couldn't just have a night that were filled with those sorts of songs, and he had to specifically write big bangers like Uptown Girl and Tell Her About It, simply because you have to have the songs that fit the environment you're playing. So that's how we can go and play main stages of things like Why Not Festival and Kendall Calling to 10,000 people, because we've got those bigger songs that translate well to the bigger audiences, and we've worked and coordinated our live sets so that songs have got particular actions, and we've got that crowd interaction sort of built in at its core, which is why we go down so well.
It's CBeebies for the MySpace generation.
Yeah, I was just thinking, to be fair, the audience participation songs, lean forwards, lean backwards, songs like that just get everybody involved and going. They're basically just far better versions and more enjoyable versions of what we used to do as kids when you do that, the hokey cokey. But instead of shit lyrics, it's actually the songs are just great for participation, but also fucking hilarious at the same time. And going back to a couple of points that you made in terms of things that I think make your gigs so enjoyable, but also just make your music kind of transcend across so many different age demographics, is the fact that the lyrics are technically appropriate for anyone, because there's subtle jokes in there that adults will get, but at the same time, they're enjoyable for everybody. So, and to put it into perspective, the last time we saw you, I got you all signed a CD for my wife's granddad. He's going to be 90 this year, and every time we take him out in the car, he's like, "Should we listen to the Hotpots?" And he absolutely loves it. He's grew up in the countryside. Like he always wanted to be a farmer when he was a kid, and he loves everything about what you guys do. And on the flip side, our niece, who is now, I think she's 7 or 8, at the age of like 5, she knew every word to The Perfect Pint. She had no idea what she was singing about, but she knew every word to it. And again, same thing. If we ever take her out in the car, she straight away will be like, "Can we listen to the Hotpots?" And a couple of Christmases ago, her mum's German, so they always go back to Germany at Christmas. And she introduced her entire German family to the Lancashire Hotpots and had them singing Perfect Pint and all these different songs. And it just emphasizes how well you managed to capture an essence that everybody can relate to and enjoy, and you set it to music that everyone recognizes, that makes it fun. So I think it's awesome. And again, there's so many things that you said there that I think are really unique to yourselves in terms of you know how to set a gig up, and you almost do things differently to other bands. Like you said, you don't tend to bring the mood down to build it back up again. You just basically gradually build it up, and then you go mad in the middle, and then you finish even stronger. And it means that if you go to a Hotpots gig, you're not going to a gig. You are going to an experience, and you're basically having like the greatest night out with your friends, with a load of friends that you don't know are friends yet, and you guys seem to come across as though you're our friends as well. Like it's like we're all in it together, and I think it's a really unique thing that you've created. So it's awesome. I would like to know, where do the ideas come from? Obviously it's inspired by being typically Northern, but how do you keep coming up with more and more ideas?
Well, the world keeps getting more and more bonkers.
That helps.
So we're constantly fed with a funnel of madness to tap into. But as you said, it's finding the things that will connect with people. So we've got a little WhatsApp group, me and Dickie, where we just bounce ideas across. What if you do this? What if you do that? And they'll grow. If we're making each other laugh, we'll work on that one.
Yeah.
It is just a case of daily life and experiencing things and seeing what strikes a chord with. I suppose it's the same. If you were a stand-up comedian, you do much the same sort of thing. You go about your daily business, and the stuff we used to say in the past, it's there's either the stuff that makes us angry or the stuff that makes us sort of happy and triggers something that's possibly the right idea for a song. I will say it probably gets harder and harder as you go on, simply because so many topics have been covered already, and you wouldn't necessarily want to go about sort of repeating yourself. So that's, we maybe have to try and find different sort of slants on it. So we do plenty of drinking songs, but for our next album, we've been doing it live for a while. There's our song Alcoholidays, which is all about the best out of all the beers that one experiences. It's the beer that you have at 5 o'clock in the morning in the airport Weatherspoon. Yep. So it's the next logical step onto maybe well-worn themes. That might be the best thing to describe that as.
Yeah, but also we then have a song on the new one about people who pick up dog poo in bags and then put the bag in a tree.
Yeah. Yes. I don't get that. I don't get the logic of that.
It takes more effort than just sort of leaving it there.
Surely it's easier to put it in a bin than to throw it into a tree. I've never understood that logic. You've gone to the effort of bagging it, and then
it's so nonsensical that it's classic Hotpots. But if what you were saying there earlier about your German family and going over and Hotpot songs being able to be understood and connecting with people from all over the world, if you could just snip that bit and send it to the Eurovision committee, we're in.
I think genuinely, I watch Eurovision most years because there's a great Eurovision drinking game. Quite simple. You pick a country, you pick a number. Each time you see or hear the number or see or hear the country, you drink, and you get shit-faced because it's such a long show. I recommend everybody should do it. It's a little bit like the Centurion during the Six Nations. Nobody's ever made it to minute 20 of Six Nations games without being shit-faced if you're playing that. And it's exactly the same. But I do think our issues at Eurovision would be solved by popping you boys on the stage. So I champion that, and I'm happy to be part of the campaign. I think it needs to be done.
Just for a moment, that we come out and we've got like sparkly waistcoats on, or sparkly jackets. We get to a bin in the song. We whip those jackets off, a la Bucks Fizz. There's the rainbow waistcoats, big rainbow backdrop, probably in front of a slightly transparent, sparkly curtain. Next thing you know, the votes are coming in.
Yeah, I think absolutely. And if nothing else, even if it doesn't do well, because Europe hates us, we all get to enjoy at least one song of Eurovision. We can guarantee that one performance won't be shit.
I like to think that as part of our fancy costume changes mid-performance, there'd be some stage assistants who would walk on, and I would actually, in the reverse of Bucks Fizz, put more clothes on us to cover up our ever-expanding waistlines. So again, BBC, European Broadcast Union, get in touch.
Absolutely. I think we should start a hashtag Hotpots for Eurovision. I think it's got legs. But what's exciting there is it sounds like you guys are working on a new album, which is good. So when can we expect to hear some new music?
Well, it's funny because we've been recording bits and bobs for quite a while, but we don't want to be. Thing is, if you release or use a new song in a vertical video on TikTok or whatever, people will say, "Oh, this is great. This kind of stream this," and you go, "Oh, not yet," because we're waiting for the album to drop, and it's all part of the album. And so, we have got many songs recorded, all sort of ready to go. What we just need to do is finish off maybe the last 3 or 4 songs, which are already written. We just need to find time to get into the studio, and Bernard, that's where the issues lie, because you say to people, is anybody free to go into the studio a week on Saturday? And people will go, now you see, I'm being dragged around Dunelm and Mill that Saturday. So so real life is getting in the way, but there will be a new album later in the year, and if you come to a Hotpot show in the meantime, then you'll hear all those new songs performed live for your very pleasure.
Yeah, drip feeding them out now is it's good because we're sort of seeing how the gags that we've written are hitting with a live audience before we commit them to C90 or whatever it is we're going to release it on this year.
Yeah, I think that's always handy because, again, tapping into the fact that you're in the comedy genre, it's no different to what stand-ups do. They trial new material before they write an entire new show, on the basis that if they tell 2 or 3 of their new jokes and they absolutely die in their ass, you go, yeah, we won't put that in the Netflix special. So I think it makes perfect sense if you've got new music and you're pretty happy with it and you think this should do good, trialing it out, letting people listen to it, see how they react and respond. It gives you that confirmation in a real life scenario where you can go, yeah, this is going to work on an album, which is genius. And I do agree. I think the way you're doing it is much better. There's a few people that I've discovered through the world of TikTok and Instagram who put music out on their platform that's not available to stream anywhere, and you go, this song's fucking amazing, can I go and listen to it? And they go, it's not available. When's it going to be available? Oh, next year. And you're like, well, don't give it to me now because I want to listen to it because it's really fucking good. And then you get stuck where you're like, you want to listen to it, but the hype fades off before it's even released.
Do you know what's even worse than that I find is I'll go and watch a band and I'll go, I enjoyed that. No idea who they were because not once did they say the band name or where I could see the music or where I could hear it. And I go, that was ace, that. Who was it? So once every 3 songs, we'll say, we're still the Lancashire Hotpots. Bob's on Instagram, etc.
Yeah. And I think it's always worthwhile, isn't it? On the basis that there's nothing worse than having a fucking great time and not knowing how to go and find the people that provided such a great time. On the subject of live music, are you planning on heading any further south than London anytime soon? I know you referenced Southampton in one song. Are you would you ever venture further south than sort of central London, or do you sort of get the proverbial nosebleeds traveling to the capital?
I've just come back from Swanage on the motorbike, but that doesn't count.
That's just down the road for me.
Did we? It's very nice, very warm. You see the burnt nose. Did we get an invite to the Isle of Wight? But when we looked into the financials, it was going to cost us about 10 grand to do it.
No, that was the Isle of Man. Don't get those two mixed up. If you're planning a holiday,
are they like that?
They are. Yes, one's 9 o'clock and one's 6 o'clock. It is just it's just logistics and the fact that because we've all got Monday to Friday 9 to 5s, and we can only, for the most part, gig on a Saturday. We only have so many Saturdays available in the calendar. We also have to save some Saturdays for our nearest and dearest, and some of us have children that want to see us. So it is primarily just a logistics thing. The majority of our shows are in the northwest of England, simply because that's where the most we're the most popular. And every now and again, we'll just try and have a gig and in the outer extremities. So we're playing Glasgow this year, and maybe we'll get. I mean, every now and again, we'll play Bristol or Cardiff or Cambridge even. But yeah, it is just a simple fact is we because we only have a certain number of gig slots per year because of the jobs, we can only reach regrettably a certain number of towns, and you know we have to continually apologize to people, but it's
however, that's not to say we wouldn't do it, you know, because when as you know, when we go to London, there's flat caps everywhere and waistcoats, so we know there's audiences far and wide. So if there was somebody who said there's this place and there's this, and we think this many people would be there, and this, then you know, with planning, as always. I mean, Dickie just posted today in our WhatsApp group, 2026 is done. The dates are in. That's it.
The dates are already booked in. We're booked up a year in advance. So I you know, it's
a nice place to be, though.
It is. You know, we just do wish that there were more days in a week or weeks in a year where we could try and get out to visit more people. But one of the great things is, you know, we play places like Blackpool. So if somebody wants to have a weekend, like for example, this weekend I've just come back from Scarborough. I saw Shed 7 in the Scarborough Open Air Theatre, Europe's largest open air theatre. So I had a weekend away in Scarborough. I had 4 days. I went to Whitby, saw Shed 7 on the Saturday night. So maybe if people want to come to and have a weekend in Blackpool, then they can come see the Hotpots. Or indeed, you know, if you're south of Birmingham, then you might be able to travel down south and have an overnight stay in London and make a weekend of it, if at all possible, because that's basically what we do. Is, you know, going to places like Glasgow would be an opportunity for us to have a jolly boys outing away with our Scottish friends.
Yeah, absolutely, and I say firsthand that a trip to London to spend the evening with you guys never fails to be amazing. It's always been a great use of time, and it would be worthwhile perhaps not being the designated driver one time, on the basis that it's nice seeing everybody else get drunk and have fun. Sometimes it's good to join them, particularly when a lot of your songs are centered around the delight that is alcohol. So it would be nice to join in a bit more.
If you can imagine, I was the designated driver for a few of my friends when Daft Punk did a live gig in Leeds in 1997. Imagine that. Imagine driving, what the car was like when I was driving home from that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh my
I
stars!
can imagine. Yeah, not
And nobody fell
uh,
asleep on the way back. Nobody.
did they not?
Can't work it out.
No, it's
Still
strange.
to
And
this day.
nobody said they were hungry, but they were all chewing their faces off. But no, it would be great to see you guys venture down south. I mean, there's a festival actually down here, Teddy Rocks. I don't know if it's registered with you guys. It's an amazing cause. It's fairly local to me, and it's grown massively over the last few years. It's now a full weekend festival. They get some pretty significant acts on the bill, but I also know for a fact that if there was an opportunity, if you guys were able to get on there, it would be the perfect kind of place for you, because it is more of a, despite how big it is and the size of some of the acts, it is quite a family orientated festival. It's also for charity, to raise money for children's cancer charities, which is also fucking awesome. But I will try and have a word and see if I can get the people that run it in touch, because I think you guys would absolutely set that place on fire in a good way, not turn up and sort of burn it to the ground.
Just get their people to speak to our people, which means somebody ringing Dickie.
Probably,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, definitely. It's I think that would be it would be a match made in heaven. Having been there a few times and enjoyed the atmosphere there, I think you guys would go down a storm from that perspective. So what's next for the Hotpots? Obviously some new music in the offing. Do you see another slight transition in the style of music, or where do you see things heading next?
Well, yes, new album. I think musically we try and change things up again every couple of albums, because we do a lot of these festival anthems. A lot of the songs that we're writing at the moment have maybe got a more sort of upbeat, upfront and modern vibe. I like to think of that there's two iterations of Coldplay. There's the Coldplay that's all about sort of Yellow and their sort of first album material, Clocks, and then there's the current modern Coldplay, where it's all fizz bang, multicolored wristbands, arms in the air. And I like to think that despite being nearly 20 years in, we're still sort of pushing the musical boundaries and trying it, maybe making it appeal, certainly with some songs, to a more energized sort of festival audience. But like I was saying previously, there's no sort of massive plans. It's trying to really reach as many people as it's humanly possible to, with an infrastructure that really just revolves around the 6 members of the band. So writing the songs, doing the silly videos for the social media. Hopefully those videos will take off, bring more people in, and it's just trying to invite and get as many people to discover us. Really, I think that's the same issues that most bands have. It's trying to be discovered, and this is it. We all know here, all the people that are attending this particular podcast recording, what a fantastic evening it is. To experience the Lancashire Hotpots. You just wish more people would know about it, because we know that once they'd experienced it, they'd be hooked for life.
There's a couple of things there, Dickie. The numbers on the socials recently are showing that people, even though we're not releasing the new songs that have got a message, are connecting with people, and you see that through the reach and the way they share and stuff like that. And then when they come to see us and we're starting to put those songs back in the sets, they go, "Oh, I've heard that one," and they can get into it. By the time we get to that bonkers section we mentioned earlier, you've got them then, because they came in with like, "Oh, I've seen these look all right." By the time they're leaning forwards and backwards, they're in.
Yeah.
And the 4 pints down, and they're leaving with a smile on the face, going, "Oh, I recognised all of those songs, but I didn't know any of them." All that sort of thing. And then their friends tell their friends, and I think that what we're doing with the socials at the minute, TikTok especially, those short videos, lyric videos especially, people just go, "I think that as well." Like, share.
Yeah.
And it's not a new thing, but we're getting used to it now, aren't we?
Yeah, it's trying to write songs to a certain degree that maybe take the pulse of the nation, and indeed beyond. And if people are recognizing their lives within our songs, I think that's the best compliment for us, really, that we know that we're doing the right thing and being a bit of a success. But it's also the best way for us to get our songs out there to people.
Yeah, be current, be funny, and be musically good. Which is, I've not shared this one with you yet, but I'm just working on a new hit, and I think it's going to be a smash. It's called Bonjela.
Oh.
As somebody who suffers chronically with ulcers, a song about Bonjela, that's right up my street.
Yeah,
is it Bonjela or Bonjela?
I was flirting between Bonjela or Veruca Sock. So I'm not sure which way I'll go, but I think they're both hits.
Well, I did hear Dickie mention that there's 3 or 4 songs that need to go into the new album before it's finished. That could be 2 of them. I guess to tap into something you mentioned earlier, with regards to where the ideas come from, it probably helps that the world, this country in particular, it seems batshit fucking crazy at the moment, to the point where satire probably becomes very easy on the basis that if you just read the news, it sounds comical to begin with. Have you found that it's almost easier to write songs at the moment than it used to be when times were simpler?
Well, it's yes and no, because you've got to keep it light. If you're going in with a hard satirical political commentary, you might not be hitting the right note and getting the views. What has always been around and will continue to be around are characters, and they are the people who can spark an idea that can create a song.
Yeah, I mean, the Austerity Blues, which we wrote in 2018, I think is a perfect example in that, it is a terrible message in terms of the cost of living crisis, which, despite being written 7 years from what is now, it still seems to be as current and as relevant as ever. So,
if anything, more relevant.
Yes, it's it's a terrible message about the price of everything going up, except our wages. If you present that really gloomy message in a really happy song with, again, audience participation in terms of everybody sort of saying going up, and with the happiest of chords, is it D?
It's D major. It's
D major. There you go. Then you've. It's a happy music with a sad message, and we've got the ability to pull it off.
So would you say that's the key to good comedy? Take a sad message and put happy music behind it, and it's a winner. Is that the winning formula?
It works for us.
The only thing we don't write is the show, really. So we write the songs and we perform the songs, but all the bits in between just happen. If like
you say that I've got my half links already prepared. I've got a few crackers as well. I've got one about CMAT. I won't spoil it. And you've got finger on the pulse.
You've got your emergency joke.
Yes.
But the general banter is just us enjoying ourselves. However, what will happen then is like, usually if like I'll say someone and Bob says it, and then we have a little giggle to ourselves, Dickie will just get on the mic and go, write that down.
I do remember from our last show, I won't spoil it for anybody, but the phrase "meaty lips" was uttered. Again, that's completely out of context. You'll have to come to the show to see what that is referencing. So yeah, so we'll, it's almost a bit like improv. We'll try and keep the best bits if we can, because everything happens so fast.
Yeah,
it's hard to make a note of anything. But that's why it all feels completely organic, because it is mostly spontaneous, and we don't really want to be repeating the same links from a script. I remember going to see this stage show of Bottom. Whenever that would have been, the end of the late 1990s, and Rick and Aid were doing all these comedy asides, which appeared to be all just off the cuff sort of stuff. And then I bought the stage show VHS, and they were doing the same things night after night, and I felt a little bit deflated and a little bit cheated.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that again, you get it with comedy in particular. I remember, I think it's Jimmy Carr's first stand-up DVD. There was some really great sort of heckle put downs, and then I saw him live like 10 years later, and he used the same heckle put downs, and I was like, in this first DVD there was a whole setup behind it, there was a whole story to it, and how it came about, and it seemed genius, and then it's just being regurgitated, and then there's different parts of different shows of comedians that I've seen that just seem to be in every single performance they do, and you go, yes, it is funny, and there will be people hearing it for the first time that think it's hilarious, but it loses its, like you said, it loses its magic, it loses its sparkle when you realize that actually it's just something that's been very well written, well rehearsed, and isn't as off the cuff as it appears. Whereas I've seen you guys obviously twice in London, and each time, it, as I said earlier, it just feels like you're a group of friends having a great time together that we all get to not just witness, but actually you welcome us to be part of it, and it just feels like everybody is as invested as each other, which again is just very unique, because I go to a lot of gigs, see a lot of live music, and you get a lot of audience interaction and participation and banter between acts in the crowd, but even in those instances, quite often it feels like this is obviously the same thing they do every night, when they're like, oh, how loud can you be? Are you louder than wherever they were the day before? And these guys made more noise, you guys are shit. And it's like, yes, it creates a bit of atmosphere, but it also feels a little bit
Has anybody seen, I only saw it on TikTok today, the video of Mariah Carey at the Capitol Summertime Ball, and all her ad-libs in terms of London, make some noise, and you sing, sing along with me. It's all literally scripted, and it's like brackets, point mic at crowd, close brackets. But the one thing we realised, I don't know when this was that we came to the conclusion that in terms of the music and the actual songs, everybody's got that music at home or access to that music via streaming. The one thing that really people are coming to see is the talking in between the songs. It's the linking bits. It's the talking between us and the audience, and us and the rest of the band. And really, when you think about a show, that's really what you're paying to see. You're paying to see the bits that are in between the songs, which will only happen in that form on that one particular night. That is your experience. That is a unique one-off thing, and so that's something that we do think about.
How do we all feel now about bands going, oh, there's somebody down there who says, can I play guitar on this song? Oh, what a surprise! And then they come up and they just so happen to be able to play the guitar or the drums really, really well. And you go, oh God, that was amazing when they got that person up. It's like, but it's been going on for 4 years.
Yeah, again, it's like we said, it's the first time you see it, you go, "God, that's amazing, that's really cool." And then when you see it a few times, you go, "This is probably the same person every time." It's probably one of their reserve musicians who's just a session artist that's like goes on tour with them to come out from the crowd and just play a song, so the actual guitarist can probably go and have a shit, or depending on what band it is, maybe do some drugs. Who knows? On the subject of your live shows, which are always incredible, how do you handle the pressure to get the right songs played, in terms of you've got so many amazing songs, and there's probably pressure every time you go that people want to hear certain songs, and undoubtedly there will be more songs that you don't play than you do. How do you choose what the set list is? How do you rotate them? Yeah, how does that work? Because it must be difficult having that many good songs that you could probably play for 6 hours and still miss a couple.
I think the thing is, because the year's split up, we've got a winter tour, and then that finishes in the new year, and then we have theatre tours, which are much longer, more relaxed, more people listening sort of sets. So you can put a load of different songs in that. if songs are working really well from that, we've not played it for a couple of years. When it comes back out again, festival time or back into the winter, we don't feel any pressure to play specific songs. I mean, I feel a bit sad when somebody comes in a IKEA jacket with a hat on and they've got a blue and yellow face and you don't play IKEA. You know, it's like, oh, you've really made the effort, and or somebody's got a sign that says, you know, play the Girl from Bargain Booze. It's like, it's just not in, and you can't please everybody all the time. There's only a certain amount of time you can play, and we're at it all year. So if you were to come to a theatre and then you come to a festival and you come to a winter, there will be songs that we'll always play. You know, if we'll get lynched if we don't do Chippy Tea, we don't play Sausage, Chips and Beans. You know, they've got to be in. But the rest is up for. I mean, the theatre now, we've got loads of stuff and we've not played for either a long time or even ever before.
Yeah, the theatre, I think we end up playing 2 sets. Each one of those sets is like an hour and 10 minutes. So that gives us an opportunity to dig into the back catalogue and not play songs. If you're playing a standing show, for example, they all generally have to tend to be high energy, you know, keeping people entertained. If people are relaxed and sat in their seats with a bag of Maltesers, then, you know, you can do something that's a little bit sort of low tempo. But yeah, we've got about 2/3 of our standing show that is the same year in, year out, simply because we are a heritage act and we have to include all those big hits that everybody knows. And yeah, it's rotating the good songs sort of. So maybe IKEA will be in one year and then out the next and then back in again. So it's familiar but fresh. That's the thing.
And it's also knowing your audience. Like, cool. I use the hand gesture. Not that one. It's all about knowing your audience as well, and we know that some people are very thirsty, so they'll have songs that they go, well, I'm not that keen on that one. They can go get the beers and it's fine. We don't mind. Keep the bar open. Let people. Oh, they're playing a new one. Now, but loads of people will be like, I want to listen to this because it's new, but might not want to listen to another one, and it gives people time to fully enjoy the evening. Let's say.
Yeah, and I think that's you need to get a good mix at the end of the day. I think, again, going back to what we said before, you don't want it to become stale. You don't want it to become too much like a job. And if every time you play it's the same songs constantly, it becomes less fun because you sat there and you go, oh, it's week 36 of the year. Let's go and play wherever we're playing today and do the same 10 songs or 12 songs, or you know, it becomes you know, for you guys, monotonous. And I think the minute you stop enjoying what you're doing and it becomes not a bunch of guys from the north having a laugh on stage and we get to witness it, I think the minute it stops being that, it loses the reason why people enjoy the show so much from that perspective. I do think from my own perspective of the times I've been, the show, I've never ever felt that the shows have ever lacked anything. Even if songs that I would love to have been played haven't been played, you don't come out and go, oh, it would have been good if they played this. You just come out feeling brilliant. I imagine even better if you're drinking, something I've yet to experience. But yeah, I think the way that you're doing things at the moment is bang on. I think you've got it down to a fine art, and the good thing is you can hear when you guys talk. It's something you genuinely enjoy doing, and it's not a it's not a labor of love. It's not a chore. It's actually something that's just that you look forward to, which is what it should be all about. And I think a lot of bands, when they've been around as long as you have, I think you say 20 years or so.
December 2006 is when we recorded our first songs, and March 2007 is when we first played live. So we sort of about 2 birthdays. So yeah, so we're from 2007, our live iteration of the band. So that will soon be here. It'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, some very kind words there, and we do appreciate it, because it's daft, isn't it, what we do? But I think it's like Les Dawson used to do. He could play the piano really badly, but in order to do that, you got to be quite good at it. And I think over the years we've honed that ability to be just rubbish enough that we get away with it while it's still tight, if that makes sense. Hard to explain.
No, I completely get it. It's that comedic ability to seem like it's not anything too technical when actually it takes a lot of that. You have to be very good to appear to not be good, because if you're not good, it's painfully obvious.
Yeah, try yodeling for 4 minutes in a Lancashire accent.
Yeah. That'll do it. But yeah, I think it's probably a nice place to begin rounding things off. I'm excited to see what's coming. I'm guessing, are you starting to plan ahead for the 20-year anniversaries and what's to come there? Have you got anything planned for that?
I've got some ideas. What we'd like to do is maybe do some nice sort of double header shows. Get a few acts on board that we maybe wouldn't necessarily have the budget for to play alongside us, but maybe we could push the belt out a little so we can have some featured names playing in a double bill co-headliner capacity. That might be nice, and I'm sure there'll be other things. I'd quite like a documentary. If there's any documentary makers out there listening to this, that'd be a nice way to maybe if they filmed some of our 20th year of touring, that might be a nice way to celebrate and also look back upon achievements.
Yeah, and in celebration, I'm going to buy all the rest of the band a tattoo voucher, but I get to choose the tattoo.
I think that should be done. Absolutely. I will be, even if all of your future music disgusts me terribly, I will still be sticking around simply because I want to witness what these tattoos are in a year and a half, 2 years time. But so I think that has to be committed, and I agree. I think Netflix should be getting on with this. They did a whole multi-series show about Wrexham Football Club. I mean, if people are willing to watch that, everybody can have a documentary. But if anyone deserves it, it's you guys. I think a Hotpots documentary charting the meteoric rise from St Helens to all the way to the capital and beyond. I think that should be a documentary, and I can see it now.
They might need to pixelate Bob in his underpants in the dressing room, though. Very, very small pixels, though, Bernard.
See, now that's funny.
That's funny.
And to celebrate great banter and good humour, I'm going to have a Northern Mojito. So, cheers, guys. There's the scrumpy. Yeah, that's the first custard and the iron brew. Follow with the minty. Yeah.
There you go. I didn't think we would venture into mojitos this evening. I thought we would keep it strictly to the main accepted alcoholic beverages of bitter lager, cider ale, or stout. But you've shown me just how much the Hotpots have changed over the years. How progressive you've become.
It's the Northern Mojito now joins our Sunday dinner favourite alcoholic beverage, which of course is mince or shots.
Absolutely. I mean, you could always swap the Listerine for a mince or shot. It would bring its own minty alternative. So if you're running low on Listerine and you've got some mint sauce, you can still have a Northern Mojito.
Yeah, whack it in.
There we go. I don't know if I will adopt the Northern Mojito on the next episode. We'll have to see. If the next guest is Northern, maybe I will.
Just a small glass. It's all you need. It does tend to curdle if you put them in the same glass, but
yeah,
it's all about the flavour.
There's a small part of me that's tempted to try it. I'll be honest.
Yeah. You're having a go.
Yeah, my interest is piqued. But guys, thank you so much for coming on and sharing obviously your story, your wisdom, and your humour. It's much appreciated, and I'm very excited to see what comes next. And before we disappear, I always do the same thing. Just let everybody know again where they can find you on the socials if they don't currently follow and if they haven't checked you out.
It's just as Dickie said earlier, any of the socials, just give it the Lancashire Hotpots. There's several hashtags. Chippy Tea will always find its way to us. And yeah, come and say hello. We Dickie is steadfast in making sure that he replies to, if not everyone, at least 94%.
There you go. There you go. And I can confirm that you guys are very responsive on social media and in person. Again, one of the things that I love about your shows is you always take time after the show to spend time, have a drink, have a chat, sign autographs, have photos, which again is very unique. I think it's something that the music industry has lost as gigs and shows have become bigger and more expansive and bands succeed. They tend to become too important, or if they're not too important, they just get whisked away by their team around them and don't get the opportunity to spend time with the people that have paid the money to go and see them. So again, from someone who's been to your shows, it is incredibly something that we recognize, and we really do appreciate that you still take the time, and you haven't quite got to a point where you're like, we're too big for this. We're going to go and sit in the dressing room and wait for everyone to leave before we sneak out. So never change is what I'm saying. Just keep being yourselves. And for everybody listening, thank you for listening. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. And if you don't follow them, if you haven't listened to them, you're only doing yourself an injustice. So go and check them out. It will be time well spent, particularly if you're at work and your day is not overly fulfilling. I strongly recommend filling it with the Hotpots. And for everybody else, I will see you all on the next episode.